Hey everybody, welcome back inside. I'm Paris Lawson alongside Royce Young. Thank you for staying up late with us back at home. We know this was a late tip-off, but you stayed up for a good one because the Thunder down to the wire, their first clutch game really of the playoffs, Royce, and they got the job done. Finished off this series 4-0 and now advanced to the Western Conference Finals for the 6th time in 18 seasons.
That, according to my math, Paris, is a third of the time that the Thunder have been in OKC, they've been in the Western Conference Finals.
Good math.
That is remarkable in every single way. And to get there tonight, it was a tough game. And credit to the Lakers. They played a great game. We all know in closeout situations, especially on the road, it's going to be a challenge. But the Lakers brought it in every single way. I mean, they had multiple chances, I think, to kind of roll over. You know, that second quarter where the Thunder held them scoreless for the first 6 minutes of the second quarter. The Lakers bounced back from that. There was the third quarter where the Thunder was able to build another lead, and the Lakers bounced back from that and really had a lot of game pressure on the Thunder going down the stretch. And I was kind of reminding myself, sitting here watching it, going like, hey, this is what a playoff game feels like. Right. I kind of forgot about this because the Thunder played so well throughout the postseason. But it came down to Jared McCain with some huge shots in critical moments. The execution was tremendous. SGA reminding people why he's the MVP and going to win it a second time. And then how about the execution out of that timeout, down a point, the big-to-big passing. The Thunder anticipate 2 on the ball going to Shea. Shea gets off of it early in a short roll to Hart, and then Hart throws it to Chet Holmgren, who does an amazing job of keeping his pivot foot down and going up and finishing that dunk, and then a couple stops to finish it off. Just a great job by the Thunder. And like you mentioned, Paris, they haven't really been in this situation a whole lot this postseason. Yeah,
it's one of those things where the Thunder knew coming into this that the hardest thing to do in sports is to close out a game on the road. They knew they were going to get a really solid punch from the Lakers, who did not want their season to end. Their season's on the line. They're in their home arena, and they were fighting with everything that they had. The Thunder, to their credit, that poise, that composure that we have seen from them all postseason long showed up massively in this game. A guy like AJ Mitchell, yet again, with another phenomenal performance in just his second season.
Absolutely. AJ was huge in stabilizing a number of different times and just playing great two-way basketball as we've seen him do throughout this entire postseason, but especially in this series specifically. And you mentioned just kind of the composure of the team in a playoff setting on the road. This building was as loud as it's been in these 2 games. The fans were great tonight, I thought. And really there was a number of moments throughout the game where it just kind of felt like it was the Lakers' night. I mean, Austin Reeves hit that amazing 3 over Alex Caruso at the end of the shot clock.
Great defense by AC on that possession.
And it was just a great shot by Austin Reeves. There was another finish from Austin Reeves where he was kind of out of control and the ball just kind of went in the basket. A couple and ones that they hit, and it just sort of had that feeling like
Rui Hachimura with a couple big time threes.
A couple and one three too. Just felt like it was just like maybe their night. And the Thunder, who, as we've seen them do, just resilient to the finish line, unmoved. They didn't get rattled by any of it. The composure all the way through the 48 minutes really showed up, able to execute when it mattered.
Yeah, the Thunder able to stay present in the moment, not look too far ahead. That's something that Thunder head coach Mark Daigneault said would be necessary in tonight's Game 4. Speaking of Coach Daigneault, let's get you over to the press room where he's addressing the media. Let's listen in.
I want to acknowledge the Lakers and congratulate them on a great season. And obviously they played excellent tonight, but it's been an impressive run they've had with Doncic out, with Reeves out for part of that Houston series. They've been unbelievably resourceful. I have high respect for JJ Redick and their staff. And every series seems to teach your team lessons, and they threw a lot of pitches at us. And I think we're a better team at the end of the series than we were at the beginning, and that's a credit to them. So just the tip of the hat to them, deep respect.
Go ahead, Tim. Can you elaborate on what the lessons are that you guys learned in the series?
Yeah, I think the pitches of, a lot of mixing defenses, that's about as aggressively as we've been double teamed out on the floor in a while. I mean, certainly in a playoff series. It was similar to like Denver playing that much zone in a playoff series a year ago. And it really had us having to sharpen our attacks, but I thought we did a great job of that. I thought tonight, down the stretch, I mean, we had some big-time plays out of those traps. We had a dunk for Chet. We had another one, the go-ahead basket for Chet. AJ had a wide-open 3. There was a great attack. I just thought we showed great, execution of that. So I think we're a lot better in that area than we were coming into the series.
Mark, Shea and Chet kind of took you home late. That first 6 minutes of the fourth quarter, I think 13 of your 15 points came from the two second-year guys, AJ and Jared. What did you make of that stretch of the game? Just how much was hanging in the balance there for y'all to stay attached?
Yeah, I mean, big-time shot making by those guys, and I thought Caruso's shots in the first quarter really kept us afloat at a time where we weren't great. So it always helps. I thought the team, we didn't play great tonight. It's probably our worst execution game of the playoffs. But when you're down by 3, it doesn't matter how you get there. When you're tied with 5 to go or whatever, it doesn't matter how you get there. You just got to be present and play out the rest of the game with your best punch. And I thought we did a nice job of that tonight. I thought the last 6 minutes of the game was our best 6 minutes, save for the beginning of the second quarter. We kind of put everything else behind us and went and got the game.
Mark, assuming my math is right, you guys are the 14th team since 1980 to sweep the first 2 rounds of a playoff run. What's sort of been most difficult about closing both these teams out in 4 games flat?
Winning 8 playoff games is really hard. Winning a playoff game is really hard. It requires unbelievable effort and focus and execution and connectedness. And we've been very, very good. I thought, like I said tonight, I thought we had more lapses tonight than we had in previous games. So we have to learn from that. Obviously, we have to play better in more of the 48 minutes. But I also think, the wind's going to be in your face in the playoff game for different reasons at different times, and you've got to be able to recenter. And I thought we did that exceptionally well tonight.
Yeah, just a quick second one. I don't know if you know this, but I think LeBron is like 3 months older than you, and yet in this series you have to scheme for him like on 1A. You still have to limit him the same way. I guess, did he add any perspective to what you guys are doing, and can you just describe the challenge of still having to scheme against that guy?
Yeah, I mean, I said before the series, what he's doing at this stage of his career is remarkable. Just the fact that he's playing at this stage of his career is remarkable. The level he's able to get to at this stage is unbelievable. And he is a guy that, similar to what I said about the team collectively, it's like if you make a mistake on him, he's going to make you pay for it, and it actually helps you improve. Like you're a better team. He's like developing your team because any crack, he's going to find it. And, he's not the only player. We've played against the great players in a playoff series do that to you. They sharpen your blade. But the fact that he can do it at this stage of his career, even just the first 5 minutes of game 1, was a great model for how you start a series, And so I just have the deepest respect for him, obviously. His career speaks for itself. But being up close and competing against him was a privilege. And like I said, deep respect for him and the rest of our team.
Shea's still been able to be impactful this whole series, even when he wasn't putting up his usual point totals. But tonight it looked more like the average in that department. Just can you kind of speak to what this game says about his persistence, his problem solving?
Yeah, and I think the counting stats can get in the way of recognizing that there's different ways to have heavy impact. And, let's talk about the double teams. It's like, we offensive rebounded early in the series way more than we normally do. A lot of that has to do with them being off our body. They're off our body because they're doubling him. So it's like he's contributing to offensive rebounding. Everybody else on the team is playing at advantage when 2 guys are on him and the ball comes out. So the confidence and the aggressiveness that those guys were able to establish early in the series that certainly showed up for us tonight, that's a result, downstream effect of the double teams. And then I think the Lakers were playing a scheme that required a lot of energy. And if you look at the way that we performed in the second halves of games in this series, I think there was a fatigue factor to that. Some of that's our depth, but the other part of that is they were running around defensively. And why are they running around? Because they're double teaming him. And so I think you look down and you see 18 points or 22 points, and it's easy to rush to a conclusion on that. But if you are really evaluating total and global impact, even with 18 points, the domino effect of the double teams are huge. And him not fighting the game in those situations reeled back the double teams. And then he kind of hid in the grass. And then tonight, he went and closed that thing. So, remarkable poise and maturity by him. But, I wanted to point that out because impact takes on different faces, and his impact was all 4 games.
Hey, Mark, you all got Jared in a trade for a reason, but what have been the keys for him to have such a comfort level with this group in a short amount of time?
I think it's the locker room. I think our locker room puts the wind at everybody's back. It's a locker room that accepts you for who you are, encourages you to be who you are, encourages you to play with confidence, encourages you to play through mistakes. And when it's a young player like Jared that is still trying to establish himself, and he comes into a locker room that engulfs him like that, it allows him to play at the top end of what he's capable of. And great mental toughness by him. He didn't play much in the Phoenix series, and then he came out in this series and changed 3 of the 4 games pretty much, including the fourth quarter tonight. So his confidence is impressive, but I do think the team gets an assist on that.
Speaking of McCain, your guys' overall three-point versatility, you have guys who can shoot it off the dribble, guys off the catch, off movement, off DHOs. How important is the versatility that he provides the three-point shooter who can really do anything you need him to do?
Yeah, I mean, the pace of the game kind of gets stirred up when he's out there, so he doesn't only, shoot the ball, but he kind of alters the pace, of the game. And I think if you look at the way that unit performed in this series, we seem to have another gear offensively when they were out there together, and some of that is him, and some of that's obviously AJ Hartenstein, the way they move around. But, and then he's got the shooting gravity, so he was huge tonight, and he held up defensively in a way that allows us to keep him on the floor for large portions of the stretch of that game.
Yeah, Mark. Teams that are trying to avoid getting swept can come into the games a lot of energy, a lot of effort, feed off the crowd like the Lakers did with this crowd tonight. We just talk about the way you guys were able to absorb that and get over the hump to get this win.
Yeah, I mean, they won more of the minutes tonight than we did, and that hadn't been the case in the first 3 games of the series. But they outplayed us for the majority of that game, and we won some critical stretches to start the second quarter. Certainly was one of them. Start of the third was another, and then the stretch was another. But we knew, this is a team that's a really good team with prideful players. We did not expect them to give us an unearned win. We had to earn it. We didn't play as well as we could have, but we still went and earned it, and that's because they made us do that.
Yeah, Coach, what does it say just overall about this team that a team in the playoffs can put together a game plan against the MVP of this league, and for the exception of a few minutes in each game, you guys controlled every game throughout the series?
I think for the most part, our defensive execution was really, really good. We made them earn everything. Tonight that wasn't quite as good, but for the series as a whole. And then offensively, I thought we played really unselfish basketball throughout the series. Even when we were a little bit clunky tonight, I thought it was more of a focus thing tonight, but the intentions were still very team-oriented, and I think that has great power. And we're going to need that moving forward. Obviously, it just continues to get harder and harder as you move through this thing. But, yeah, I thought that was exceptional in this series.
An amazing series by Oklahoma City, considering the fact that this group has put together so many different challenges and games and come out on the other side successful. I thought Coach Daigneault's answer to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the impact globally that he has on the game, if you're just looking at the box score, it doesn't even remotely touch the full story of his game.
We've spent 3 games ourselves kind of trying to describe Shai's impact, and Coach Mark, as he often does, just so eloquently puts it right there in complete context. I mean, just a great example of how holistic the game of basketball is, and if you get just kind of addicted to counting stats or box score watching, you miss what is going on throughout a game. And there's a lot of players that have big-time impact on games without a lot of counting stats.
Yep.
I mean, a guy like Alex Caruso or Isaiah Hartenstein, go back in Thunder history, Nick Collison is like the king of it. But in this series, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, while he still had, solid numbers, they were down from what people are used to seeing. I mean, the 30-point games that he's led the NBA in and year out for like the last 3 years. But again, that just complete, I like the way that Mark put it, global impact on the game. Simple things that I hadn't even really considered, like the offensive rebounding
being
opened up, because there's less bodies on people when they're going to the glass right there. So, again, if you're just kind of looking at it and you're just saying, oh, yeah, this guy's supposed to be the MVP, had 18 points, then you just don't get the game.
Exactly.
You just don't get basketball, and how that the scheme the Lakers were deploying opened up other things because of the greatness of Shea.
Yeah, everything that happens there on the court is a domino that falls in a series of dominoes, and how they fall, well, it's all about how players execute off of that action. And for the Thunder, they've done a phenomenal job executing, reading, and reacting to everything that the Lakers threw at them in this game. And to Coach Daigneault's point, it wasn't their best execution game in this matchup here tonight. He said, in fact, it was probably our worst so far this season, or this series. And for Oklahoma City to still be able to grit it out, to find ways to put the ball through the hoop, says so much about this team.
Yeah, there was a number of fast breaks that the Thunder didn't finish. Just the ball slipped through their hands, or a little sloppy in a few spots, a few coverage breakdowns that allowed it. And again, we talked about it, just some of the shot making that the Lakers had. But yeah, I mean, you could even get discouraged on some of the sloppiness that you played with, because again, that's very uncharacteristic of the Thunder. But the resiliency and the focus of the team to really kind of dial in on those final 6 minutes, and a lot of that again was Shea, and just the way that he can stabilize you throughout games, and the shot making. Again, the gravity that he pulls in those moments obviously opens up other things. And the other point that I'd also make to that, and Coach Mark touched on it, is just the mentality of Shea. A lot of players might kind of feel that kind of pull to selfishness, to be like, man, I'm supposed to be scoring 30. I got to battle against it. I've got to try to take on the double team right here. But Shea resisting that, I think, again, it's a nuanced thing. It's hard to understand, but it is such an impactful thing for his team. And I think it's a big reason, A.J. Mitchell was amazing in the series, but a lot of that had to do with Shea empowering him to be great and have those opportunities.
Yeah, a lot of confidence from every single player out there on the floor. But of course, it starts with the player that typically has the most usage from night to night, and that's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Tremendous poise and confidence in his teammates, helping to propel this team once again to the Western Conference Finals. All right, we're going to take a short break here, but don't go anywhere. We'll hear from Thunder players when we come back on Thunder Playoff